I got very sick. I was in the hospital. It was very scary. Quarantine, wasn't sure if I was going to see my husband again because he couldn't come with me. And at one point, I was very close to being intubated and on ventilator and whatnot. And I could feel my lungs failing me and my body failing me. And I'd always analyzed my way through things, and my analytical mind was trying to break the code of like, okay, what could we do to bring me through this? And I had this moment where I experienced surrender in a way that I had never experienced before. It was instantaneous. And I don't know quite how I reached that state. It just kind of happened and I just let go.
Welcome to The Reluctant Medium, where we cover the gamut of out there conversations. With an open mind and a curious heart, we want to talk about it all. From psychic phenomena and energy medicine to beings from other star systems and out-of-body experiences. You'll find a great balance between grounded science-backed topics and others that science hasn't quite caught up to yet. I'm your host, Dr. Maria Rothenberger, a psychotherapist by trade and a reluctant spirit baby communicator. And hey, even though I'm a medium, I'm not buying everything folks are selling. I just have a voracious appetite to know more about what I call the world of the weird. Join us on your favorite podcast platform or watch on YouTube at The Reluctant Medium. I'll see you there. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reluctant Medium podcast. I'm Dr. Maria Rothenberger, your host for the podcast, and today's guest is, oh my gosh, I said before, I think we are kindred spirits. We speak a very, very similar language. I have Crystal Cassidy for you today. Welcome, Crystal.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so happy to meet you. I think that folks are really going to take a lot from what you have to say today, and I really just want to dive in. If that's okay with you, I would love for you to say,
yeah.
Who are you? What do you do? How did you come to do what you do?
Yeah, happy to. So, long story, kind of short. My name's Crystal, and there's kind of two sides to me. One is the science side. I studied biochemistry in school, worked in toxicology research for a bit, pharmaceutical development, biotech companies, genomic diagnostics, cancer research, kind of that area for a good chunk of my career. And I've always been fascinated by, understanding the mechanics of how things work. Very lucky to work in that space, and it really provided a foundation for me to dive into the mechanics of meditation. And I started meditating when I was 12, reluctantly. Didn't really understand the practice at that age, but I was doing martial arts and just fell in love with that entire world, Goju-ryu, for those of you who are in the martial arts space. And I did that for 10 years and traveled the world and trained and coached, and meditation was a huge part of that practice. And at first, I was really using it to access certain states of mind, really, so that my performance, my physical performance, would be as good as it possibly could be. And you can find those moments of flow. But as I got older and my meditation practice developed, I started having mystical experiences. And the science side of me was very intrigued because I didn't understand how I could be having these experiences that were out of body, or I started perceiving ghosts, in my 20s. I wasn't a kid that grew up perceiving them, but it developed. And so I just had so many questions, and it kind of led me to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And at this point, I've been a daily meditator for over 10 years, about 12 years now. And it's completely changed my life. It's led me to a deep connection with myself, and I think a deeper connection with the people around me. And I'm continuing and always will be on that journey. But when I had the opportunity to build something myself, and I kind of had that existential moment where I was like, I think I'm done in biotech. I think I want to do something that really calls to my soul, and started to think about what a platform could look like that would serve both the science side and leave room for the mystical experience. And that's how SoulPod was born. And we have personalization, which I feel really strongly about, really understanding where people are at in their spiritual journey, and deeper practices. Love mindfulness, but I think we can also go a little bit beyond mindfulness through different practices. And we also have community features in SoulPod as well. And yeah, I'm just loving the journey and having a really fun time building what we're building.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What a story. And I have questions and questions about the questions and deeper questions about the questions.
Yes, let's go.
For those who've visited the Reluctant Medium, you know that this is my language, y'all, right? Like science meets spirit. In fact, on your website, it says where science meets soul. And I'm like,
Mm,
whoa, I love this person already. Yes. The mechanics around why things work. Yes.
mhm.
Yes. And you and I are also similar in that we were not children who saw dead people or, you know,
Yeah.
had experiences like that. It wasn't until my 30s that happened. But
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
yeah, but it was meditation. Right? It was
Mm,
meditation. But I do have another question because I will foreshadow my question by saying when I was an infant, I had a potential near-death experience. I don't know if it was. My brother had given me a whole bottle of teething pills when he heard me cry, and I was rushed to the
oh,
hospital,
wow.
had my stomach pumped. My mom said I never lost consciousness or my heart never stopped or anything like that. But I kind of wonder because of this propensity toward spiritual stuff. And there's a bunch of research to support folks who've had near-death experiences then go on to have
Mm,
these mystical things happen. And you had
mm.
a near-death experience, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to dive into
Yeah.
that. Tell us what happened.
Ooh, whenever I talk about this, I can already feel it. I get very activated. I
Mm.
can feel the energy of it. Yeah, so it was a very, as you can imagine, a very intense portal. And I had been very sick. You can guess with what in 2020, very early 2020.
Mm.
And I had, interestingly, in my meditations before I had gotten sick, I started having past life flashbacks in my meditation to this one particular past life that felt very medieval. I'm not sure how woo woo you want to get about this,
Oh,
but
I'm very woo, girl. Bring it.
okay. Okay. So I was having in my meditations, it didn't make much sense, but it was very chaotic. There was this almost like a Viking man type of character. And there was a war and a pandemic in this lifetime
Mm.
that I was perceiving. And this was before. Yeah, it's very interesting. Before the pandemic was a thing. And I was feeling this wave of energy coming in. And of course on the science side, I was starting to hear about what was going on in the world, and I had a funny feeling. And and sure enough, I got sick very, very early on. And when I first realized I was sick, I knew I was in a very intense battle. Immediately I could feel it. And I also knew that it was karmic, that it was tied to this past life, and that there were energies that I was going to resolve through this experience. So it was very interesting. I don't know if I've ever had that particular experience in the same way before or since. But I got very sick. I was in the hospital. It was very scary. Quarantine, wasn't sure if I was going to see my husband again because he couldn't come. He couldn't come with me. And at one point, I was very close to being intubated and on ventilator and whatnot. And I could feel my lungs failing me and my body failing me. And I'd always analyzed my way through things, and my analytical mind was trying to break the code of like, okay, what could we do to bring me through this? And I had this moment where I experienced surrender in a way that I had never experienced before.
Ooh.
It was instantaneous. And I don't know quite how I reached that state. It just kind of happened, and I just let go. And I let go of the struggle. I let go of the pain and the fear. And I was like, just what's going to happen is going to happen. And the interesting thing was that in that same moment of this deep surrender, there was another energy there with me. And it was loving and it was powerful, and I can feel it now. And it started to work with my energy body. And so I felt my root chakra light up. I felt my third eye light up. And then lastly, my heart. And I just sat there in this state of receiving and surrender. And I could kind of perceive myself from outside of myself having this experience. And it was just one of the most profound things I've ever experienced. And after that point, I knew I was going to be okay. And there's another kind of interesting part of this story that I don't talk about as often. But when I was back home and I was unable to walk really for quite a while, but I had made it to my little fire escape, seat, and I sat down and I looked up at the sky for the first time in a long time. I was outside and I had this profound moment of presence, and I was always perplexed by that moment because it was so simple and it was so profound. And I knew that I was going to make it. I was going to come back. It was going to take me some time. And then interestingly, I did a meditation retreat in December, and I was in a 3-hour meditation, and I astral traveled to that moment on the fire escape. And I realized it was future me now, healed and having gone through what I've gone through, was there with sick Crystal. And it was me actually providing that to myself, which just blew my mind in that moment. Yeah.
I'm getting chills
amazing.
all over the place. And I feel like crying.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
That's so powerful. It's powerful.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a Harry Potter scene. to bring it back to earthbound stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So moving. Gosh. So that is another, it's kind of a segue actually into SoulPod, the SoulPod app, by the way. And of course, we're going to link everything up. But this idea that we ourselves are capable of doing the things that we need to do to heal, to grow, to evolve. That's what I loved about when I was researching the app. That, God, this is really empowering. You provide a structure. Yeah, you provide like, here are some things to follow, and it's so individualized and sensitive to the person themselves.
Yeah.
I would love to talk about that. How did that come to fruition, right? Of course, we can talk about the mechanics behind it. How do you create an app and all that? But did that idea come to you in meditation or conversation, or how did that happen?
Yeah, I've always loved structure because I think that there's some magic in technology and being able to walk through a structure. That's the way I kind of learned as well. The way my mind works is through like a journey-based experience. And so I was thinking about my own process. And for me, when I was getting into meditation, and I was very much in my analytical mind, and I very much wanted to understand and contemplate different elements of the journey, different theories and philosophies. So with SoulPod, I wanted to give people the opportunity to let their analytical mind chew on some new concepts. So in our structure, you'll notice, especially in the first week of the 21 ritual journeys, is that we're introducing new concepts and kind of letting the analytical mind have its moment. Because I think when you understand why you're doing what you're doing, it really helps bring the experience to another level.
It's juicy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it opens you up to what's possible and kind of gives you permission to go deeper. And so I found that in my journey, my analytical mind could have a moment, and then it was bringing it into the personal emotional experience. And that's what our second week is really all about. It's like, okay, let's make this personal. Let's connect to your emotions, the ones that you've maybe been avoiding feeling, a little bit of shadow work, a little bit of the subconscious work, and also start to open you up to what you want to experience, elevated emotions, states of consciousness that you want to experience more of in your life, and starting to highlight that process. And then in my own journey, I love to give myself the space for just unfocused expansion, where you let the analytical mind, it's had its moment, and now you can just allow yourself to meet the higher mind. And that's where the structure really falls away. You kind of have to let go. It's a little counterintuitive, right? But you let go of that structure and you can move into that mystical state. And sometimes, that takes some time and the analytical mind doesn't want to let go, but every now and then you'll break through and you can have that moment. So we wanted to serve people in a way that's different than just going into an app, which also is a great foundation, but you're faced with thousands of practices and you don't really know where to start. And I love the idea of these kind of immersive experiences where you can really make some movement in your journey.
Yeah. What comes to mind immediately when you describe that structure is that the third week where folks are encouraged to let go, truly, the foundation of week one, the analytical mind having its moment. When you think about that, right, there's an understanding, as you said, this is where I said it's so juicy, because it's so much more than, this is why I'm doing this. What happens in my experience when you help people access their why is that there is a foundation of this is safe. This is totally safe. And when there's that foundation of this is safe, it's way easier to be that free-flowing, accessing intuition and higher selves and all that, right, going on. Definitely still a process. We still want to be like, wait, oh my God, I did it. Shit, it's gone.
Shit.
Yeah, damn it. It went away.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But there is such an element of safety created, right? Like, wait a minute, this is a functional thing. This is useful. This is practical. This is a human thing. This isn't like, oh, I'm going off into the spiritual weeds. This is really helpful in my life. And also, I'm curious, I think I read that the app also creates community. Is there like a way to connect to other people?
Yeah. Yeah, we call them pods. Sort of the soul pod name comes from.
Makes sense.
But it's small groups of 3 to 10 people that are also on a similar journey to you. And we have both the ability to join a random pod of these people that are on a similar journey, or for people who want to travel with their friends and family, you can build your own pod and travel together on a journey. And we think it seems like people really, really want that community in this space. And it may be hard, especially in certain areas in the world, to find this community. And we're really excited to continue to invest in this aspect of SoulPod. And we've got some really exciting things coming this year on the community side. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, this will be, you said those things will be coming out summertime 2025. Is that what I heard?
I think it'll be, maybe late summer this year.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And so this will be published sometime in spring-ish 2025. So
cool.
Everyone look for this coming up on the SoulPod app.
Yeah.
I can also see how, so when I was beginning a meditation journey and it was mindfulness, it really was so like isolating. My husband at the time wasn't even involved and was like, yeah, you do you. But it was really isolating and I was by myself, really. There was no community.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a Kundalini awakening experience and was very confused by it at the time. And I was calling up ashrams and like trying to get some information and some support around it. So yeah, I think community is a big thing, and you
Yeah.
have these meditations and you're trying to integrate it and understand it, and I think it's very relieving, and it's a profound way to connect with your fellow
Yeah.
humans, I think, around the mystical experience. We used to sit around the fire, right, and share about our experiences, our spiritual experiences especially, and we don't have that as much these days. So, yeah,
There's a
it's
lot
really
of
important.
hiding behind things, social media or
Yeah.
whatever, but this true connection is technology, but it is used so differently. It's
Mm,
not isolating. You're not on your own. Yes, you are on your own single journey, and you're connected
mhm,
with these other folks who are on a similar journey. I just adore that. And you're right.
mm.
There are plenty of apps out there that have a ton of free content and ways that you can expand your consciousness. And it's sometimes, especially for someone who's like, what the hell am I doing? Where do I start? It doesn't offer that same structure and like linear, here's what you do next, here's what you do next.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's just brilliant. And I love it. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Can we digress for just a moment and
of course.
highlight this Kundalini experience? Because I don't know that
Mm.
everybody knows what that is. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, Kundalini. So Kunda means coil, and Lini I like to think of as meaning line, or a lot of times you see it as a serpent, female serpent. And it's this potential. And I love the science, and the scientist in me
Mhm.
loves the idea that like the coil is potential energy, right? That's how we store energy. And when the coil's released and it's flowing, then it starts to activate your energetic system. And I think this energy is always flowing, but it's almost like a gate at the base of your spine opens up and it allows more energy to flow. And for me, it was a physically kind of intense experience of a lot of heat, a lot of energy in my pelvis, and then moved into my spine. And you have an activated nervous system. I wouldn't call it a calm experience. And you're just trying to ride with it, and once that happens, you're really never the same. And I had this experience of just profound oneness, of just being in this state for a few hours of feeling connected to everything. And it was very easily accessible after that point. And maybe differently than other people, mine moved slowly. So it moved up to my second center. And then at that point, I knew chakras or energy centers are real because you experience them during this kind of awakening up the central channel. And over the years, it's just moved up and up and up and up during certain points in my journey. And each time it's like almost like a birthing process. It feels like I can feel other entities coming around me when it starts to move. And, when it gets to the heart space, it's like a big explosion of love, of this like divine love. And yeah, it's been a fascinating experience, and it can be an overwhelming one. So I do understand why people in the spiritual space can be kind of fearful of it, is because it is such a birthing event. There is an intensity to it, but breathing through it, knowing that you're not going to be served something you're not prepared for on some level, and trusting the process. Yeah, it's a fascinating process.
Yeah. And you're right. It's this mystical experience, but very physical too.
Very physical.
Whew.
Yeah.
It's
Have you had that experience?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty overwhelming and
Yeah.
edgy and uncontainable, that overwhelming love too that makes me want to cry, like that feeling of like,
Yeah.
I just cannot contain this. What do I do with this? Oh, I
Yes.
just allow it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I have to do. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Surrender, breathe.
so this of
Yeah.
course brings me back then to Soul Pod, because in that process, especially it sounds like week 3, folks learn how to practice the surrender for like big
Mm.
experiences like this, right? Because it
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
is just it's a practice. It really isn't like one day I know how to surrender. it isn't like that.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
practice. So,
Yeah, I call it the infinite onion. There's always another
yes.
layer to peel off. Keeps going.
Yes. Well, I like a parfait. How about layers in parfaits?
I like that. That sounds more fun.
Non-dairy, though.
There you go. Perfect.
Hey, everyone. Do you love the Reluctant Medium podcast and want to support the podcast while getting some amazing perks in return? Join us at the Patreon community. By becoming a Patreon supporter, you'll get access to exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, early episode releases, and a whole ton more. As a member, you'll also have access to spiritual content like guided meditations, in-depth discussions on mediumship, and exclusive interviews with spiritual experts. It's a great way to show your love and stay even more connected with myself and the show. Sign up today at patreon.com/thereluctantmedium and help the Reluctant Medium keep bringing you the content that you love. I wholeheartedly appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you on Patreon soon. I'm curious what folks have reported to you, or what can you say about what people experience after this 21-day experience? I'd love for listeners to know what they can expect.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, good question. I mean, I think what I hear a lot, and I'm so intrigued by this, is that people will say they hadn't felt it before. And I've been trying to kind of figure out what that is, the it. Is it depth? Is it expansion? Is it the mystical? But they've done other practices. They've been in other apps, and they're looking for this connection. They're looking for this experience. They're looking to go deeper. And what we hear from users is that that's what they find at SoulPod. And that, yes, it can be a challenge. You're rewiring your brain for a new habit, especially if you don't currently have a meditation habit. That can be a little crunchy until you find your way into it. But it's once you do, your body and mind starts to crave the experience. You want more of it. And I was just talking to a user this past week, and she had done 1 month, so one journey at that time, and told me that it changed her life and that she was moving through this phase of difficulty with a lot more ease. And I've talked to other people that have had challenges with anxiety and just being able to sit and breathe and connect with themselves that now can do that. And it's just warms my heart hearing those outcomes and those stories, and people that are healing themselves and expanding themselves and connecting with others that are of like minds and like hearts.
Yeah. I don't think it gets better than that in terms of purpose on the planet, right? Not that biochemistry isn't amazing, but
a different type of feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, this magic really, but it's practical magic, right? It's like these are the steps that you can follow and really connect to yourself, to your fellow being, and then spread it out. Tell everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know you must feel this, but there's such an opportunity right now for awakening and how we're going to move forward as a species, as a global humanity. And so I think this work is, for those that are being called to it, is such a powerful time right now. You have so much more access to these other states of consciousness. So I'm optimistic.
I am too. And I was actually going to ask you about this because one of the things that I can say, and even like my fellow colleagues and friends are like rolling their eyes, please, that's just Maria. But I have found that, I have found that things like meditation and finding that connection to the higher realms and the higher consciousness and just love, really, maybe that's what that all is anyway. Words are so limiting, but I feel like I can see things objectively, and all the fear mongering that's out there just doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't touch me. I feel hopeful. How is that for you? Do you have a similar?
Well, the human in me sometimes gets a little, crunchy about it.
Yeah.
But in my meditations and when I'm in connected with this work, it's very brief that I have those moments where I'm like, what are we doing? But I think that when you're in those states, and I really think of love, we talk a lot about love and spirituality, but in my experience, love is this remembering of who it is that we are.
Mm.
It's this remembering of our connection. It's like that interstitial connection that we are actually not just, and once you experience this as not just a belief, but a knowing of this connection, then it's very hard to not be hopeful because we're all here as reflections of each other to experience expansion. And so if that's the case, then we're kind of right where we need to be as a collective.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just like with a birth, the canal part of the birth can be difficult.
Yes.
And this contrast helps to refine our intentions, both as individuals and as a collective. And so I find it to be more exciting than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sort of like that Kundalini.
Challenging. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed, challenging. Right. And so, not to say
Yeah.
that looking at something objectively means without feeling or connection, right? Like I can watch a movie and cry
Yeah.
my eyes out, right? Well, yeah, that's how it is. But
Yeah.
I know it's still objective. There's still sensation, but there is hope on the other side, right? It's
Mhm.
like you going through your illness and just the huge struggle. There's a broken openness, I feel like, that happens it's like,
Yeah.
okay, there's something potentially on this other side. I am alive today. I am alive today.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm struggling and I'm waiting. I'm waiting and seeing what's
Yeah.
going to happen.
But I'll share this too, because what I found in my meditations is when I'm in that struggle, and it's like waves
Yeah.
a lot of times of either sides of me or areas of my consciousness that I haven't perceived before that might be difficult.
Ooh.
Even my body, that like I had a meditation I'll never forget, where my body was fighting me so much. It was like on fire. I thought my skin was on fire. And every single time I have that challenge in my practice, the other side of that is a breakthrough. It's an elevated state of consciousness. And I think that also applies to life and our collective experience, is that when you're meditating and when you're on this journey, there are challenges. But if you stay with it and you're like, I'm here and I'm grateful to be here, let's do this. The other side, every single time for me, has been something big.
Yes.
So I love that. Gives me a lot of hope.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes. The history when you create that expansion each time is like, okay,
Yeah.
there's bound to be something on the other side of this too. It still sucks. And
Still sucks. It's still hard.
it's still hard. But the thing about the app, right, is that you also, there's something about normalizing it, right? Like this is, yep, you're right on point. Yep. Normalizing it, this is a typical experience. And then also taking the ride along with other people who are like, oh my God, I just had ABC experience. And you're like, me too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty, I can see how powerful that can be for folks. So thank you for creating that, you and your team. It's just...
Oh, our pleasure.
Sounds completely lovely. How long has it been around? I'm curious.
We're pretty new. We've just been around for about a year now.
Oh, wow.
And yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's bound to take off. People are going to really enjoy it. Yeah. So that's why I was curious about what people say on the other side of their experience there, because it's like, I think people need to know what to expect, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not 10 years of meditation, right? It's not that, but it is such a shift. I'll never forget, people have heard this story, but when I first started meditating, I was doing it because I wanted to prove it wrong, because that's what my sciencey brain was like at the time.
Oh, interesting.
I'm like,
yeah,
this is bullshit. No. And so I did it, and I dedicated 90 days. I was just going to do 30 minutes of mindfulness through the MBSR program, mindfulness-based stress reduction. And I was like, I'm doing it. Nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. But I lived in New Jersey at the time, and I was driving on the highway. And I don't know if you've ever driven there, but it's a freaking madhouse. People are flipping you off.
Oh, yeah.
But it's crazy. And I got cut off one day on the highway. And my initial reaction, very first reaction was, ooh, I hope they're okay. And then I went, well, fuck, meditation works.
That's amazing. I love that story. Oh, fuck, it works.
Yeah, I guess it works. I failed.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
But that was only
the skeptic turned believer. Yeah,
that was right. And that was it. I just had to continue doing it. I was certainly a different person. But that's the point, right? You don't need 10 years of meditation. You don't need a Kundalini awakening. Yeah. You don't need things like that for small changes in your life. To be cut off on the highway and to say, I hope they're okay, like having a compassionate response to your fellow person, like human, it's so different to live your life like that.
Yeah. I was talking to one of my friends who'd been doing a soul pod and other work for a while, and she'd had like stomach issues and gastritis and ulcers and whatnot, and thought that you needed medication, but really it ended up being she said, I just needed to breathe. I just needed to sit with myself. And to your point at the beginning, it's small movements, and as you know, like, we can see in the brain, there's still significant shifts that are happening within 8 weeks. So we do know that even though it might not be 10 years, you might not have, mystical experiences right off the bat, you also might. You never know, because the mystical meets you when you least expect it. But those moments of spaciousness and presence, it can be as simple as, I was talking to somebody where they just felt this spaciousness and calm, and like, I think it was a color, just brown. And then they were like, is that what presence is? And I'm like, yes, that's it. And it's just, I think it's the ultimate journey. It's such a interesting experience. And it's such a reminder that when we feel really solidly in our human, that we are human beings, but we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And I think the amazing thing is that slowly you start to really embody that knowing over time.
I love that you just said embody, because, again, we bring back, before you said, I don't know how woo you want to go. And I'm like, bring it. And yet it's still so grounded in like this very human, earthbound experience. It's both, exactly as you say on the website, where science meets soul. It is both. And so if you
balance.
if you really want to be embodied, if you really want to be in your body and experience your humanness, do these mystical things. It's like counterintuitive.
It's so fun. That's why I say I love my human, like Crystal's so fun.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy the mystical and the higher mind.
Yeah. That's so fun too. I love it. So entertaining.
It's so fun. Yeah. Different ways of knowing and experiencing.
And people can go find that out for themselves on the Soul Pod app. Again, check the show notes and go to Crystal's website, which is, would you like to say?
soulpodapp.com.
Perfect. Oh, that's so easy. Soulpod app.
Yeah, super easy. We also have a retreat in August of this year. This will be our second annual retreat for SoulPod. We've got a couple spots open if anybody wants to join us.
There you go. Yes. I think I saw that's in Joshua Tree.
Yeah, Joshua Tree.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Very, very potent portal.
Talk about spiritual energy there. Yeah, you can't go wrong there. Perfect.
Yeah.
Crystal, thank you so much for your wisdom. It's been wonderful today.
Thank you for chatting with me, Maria.
Thank you for joining the Reluctant Medium podcast today. I hope that this episode has brought you beautiful, high vibration, and that it continues emanating from your heart space for the rest of the day and beyond. Don't forget to join The Reluctant Medium on patreon.com, and you can also visit thereluctantmedium.us and the Reluctant Medium TV show on newrealitytv.com. Until next time, my friend, may you be well.